God has a multitude of angels in heaven, and they are assigned different tasks. However, there is a class of angels called the angels of destruction, and whenever he sends these angels on a mission, there is no turning back. Welcome to yet another exciting episode on our channel. Thanks for supporting us this far by subscribing to our channel. If you have not already done so, please do so now, as this channel will continue to publish interesting content on ancient principalities, powers, and heavenly angels. In this episode, we will reveal the mystery behind God's angel of destruction, who they are, why they come to Earth, and ancient examples of times they have crossed paths with mankind. Sit back, relax, and let us tell you a tale of history, violence, and bloodshed that will send shivers down your spine. Without much ado, let's travel down memory lane to a time of wind and dust. God has always loved man, and that is to be expected, as he himself has testified to his love of man in several texts and across different times in history. However, when man falls out of his grace and his patience runs out, he can be very destructive. When the living God decides that enough is enough, he has different ways of dealing with man, and one of such ways is to send a class of angels, loosely called the angel of death, or the angel of destruction. These angels are literally his own weapons of mass destruction. We qualify them by this term because when they cross path with man, they end up killing hundreds of thousands. These angels are called upon for no other task but to kill the ones who have decided to make themselves an enemy of the Lord of hosts. Before we proceed, it is only right to give an historical account of their activities so as to throw more light on how terrible they can be when unleashed by Elohim. For evidence, we only need to look at the events recorded in the book of 2 Kings 19, verse 35. The Assyrian Empire was one of the ruling powers of history, which lasted from 900 BCE, 609 BCE. Sennacherib is king, having succeeded his father, Sargon II. He inherits a vast army and a large territory. With his wealth and influence, he spreads Assyrian rule over even more territories, and at some point, the Assyrian juggernaut looks unstoppable. Then he casts his eye westward, and there is one small but attractive kingdom worth taking. This is none other than the kingdom of Israel. Hezekiah is king and has always found favor in the sight of Yahweh. However, when the Assyrian king declares war on Israel and is camped on the outskirts of the city, he turns to the prophet of God, Prophet Isaiah, for help. The prophet tells him not to worry, but to have faith, and he intercedes on behalf of Israel, asking God to intervene. The day of the invasion is fast approaching, and on both camps, the feeling couldn't be more different. The Assyrians are camped in their tents, waiting for the battle horn, so they can pillage and ravage the city like they have done for years to other cities. The Israelites, however, are camped within their city walls, shaking with fear and expecting the worst. From this vantage point, Sennacherib couldn't be more confident of the incoming victory. This appears to be the case until something happens. In heaven, Yahweh listens to the supplications of his people and the cries of his servant, Isaiah, and does something he has only done a few times in the past. He sends his angel of destruction, the Mashkit. The Bible records that this executioner comes in the dead of night while the Assyrian soldiers are in deep sleep in their tents, none the wiser. And what does it do? With its flaming sword of judgment, it smites the camp of the Assyrians, and terrifying cries of dying men in agony pierce through the night wind. Sennacherib is awakened by the cries, and his guards become equally terrified and try to protect their king. They see no army invading the camp, neither do they see arrows raining down from the night sky. Rather, they only hear cries as men fall to everlasting sleep. The killing spree continues from dusk till dawn, and at first light the king and his council lords step out of their tents, and only then does the true picture become evident. Littered all around the camp are bodies of dead combatants numbering thousands. How could this be when not a single battle has been waged? Out of fear and derision, the king makes a final decision. With his tail between his legs, he beats a shameful retreat back to his city. At the end of the night, the Mashit had killed 185,000 Assyrian soldiers. Hezekiah's city was saved, and the Assyrian host is destroyed. Sennacherib and the Assyrian Empire never recovered from the destruction, only to fall a few decades later. The angel of death is also known to have meted out punishment to Yahweh's people, not just the enemy. Another evidence of this occurs centuries earlier during the time of King David. This event is recorded in the book of 2 Samuel 24 verses 15 to 16. David, a friend of God, gets too comfortable and makes a fatal mistake, and his people pay the ultimate price. God had earlier warned Jewish kings never to number his people, as this was a sacrilegious act. Saul, the first king of Israel, for all his disobedience, never numbered the people, but David does. One afternoon, while sitting at the rooftop of his palace and reveling in the growth of his sprawling city and its population, the king is puffed up with pride. How could a shepherd boy from the humble house of Jesse rise to the height of political power, wealth, and fame? In reckless abandon, inspired by vaingloriousness, he commands his officials to number the people. He stubbornly fails to heed the pleas of his prophets and the court to refrain from doing so. The deed is done, and God's anger is kindled, and a terrible thing occurs. His people begin to fall like flies as this destructive angel metes out God's punishment on the population. The Mashit kills 70,000 people all the way from Dan to Beersheba. At the end, when God's wrath is assuaged, the people become fewer as a multitude had bitten the dust. This act was to humble the king and to serve as a reminder that all he had was given to him by his Maker. The Mashit is also seen by David in the book of 2 Chronicles, chapter 21, verse 15. In the vision, David sees this violent celestial host standing in between heaven and earth, holding a sword in his outstretched hand to protect the Israelites from their enemies. Perhaps the most famous of Mashit encounters with humans is recorded in the book of Exodus, chapter 12, verse 23. Here, Pharaoh refuses to let the Israelites go, despite repeated pleas by Moses and Aaron. Moses is distraught, but God is not, but issues a command. During the feast of the Passover, the Israelites are advised to smear their doorposts with the blood of sacrifice and shut their doors tight at night, and not to come out, for something is about to happen. They do as they are told. Then, in the dead of night, the angel of destruction passes through the land and slays the firstborn of every Egyptian household. None was spared, not even Pharaoh's firstborn and heir to his throne. In the morning, the king is angry and terrified at the same time, and summons Moses. The prophet appears, and he grants him and his people the permission to leave. As you can see, these angels are very ferocious, and they leave in their wake a pile of bodies and pools of blood. But who are they? What is their identity, and what do they look like? For a clear understanding, we draw inspiration from sacred scriptures. For starters, Mashits have other names like Memetim, Malakim in Hebrew, or can be called slayers or executioners as a generic term. When used in singular form, they are called the angel of the Lord or the angel of destruction. Based on historical accounts, we can tell that they are more than one, but no one knows their individual names. Perhaps these are a few classes of angels whose real names are known only by God. In the book of Job, chapter 33, verse 22, they are also called the messengers of death. Mashit is also a name given to the 7 Gehenna compartments. Those who fall into Gehenna never come back, as it is a place of no return. In the famed book of Enoch, they are known as the angels of destruction and punishment. Enoch refers to them as a group of angels, largely called Satan, with Satan himself being their leader. They tempt the sons of Adam, then proceed to accuse them before finally punishing and tormenting them. Their victims are always wicked humans and other fallen angels. In Judaism, they take a different dimension. These angels are regarded as the creation of one's sinful nature. A living person is always offered the choice of repentance, but once they die, the masjid is called to execute heaven's sentence. In the Bible, they are generally referred to as destroying angels, but no individual name is mentioned. In Hebrew, chapter 11, verse 28, they are called the destroyer of the firstborn, as a reference to the events in Egypt during the Passover. In appearance, an angel of death always carries a mighty flaming sword. They mostly come to earth at night to execute judgment, unless on rare occasions when day appearances are a necessity. This angel has a terrifying physique with piercing, fiery eyes. Humans hardly ever see them unless through visions, and their sight is indeed quite terrifying. Even beasts are not spared, as was the case of Balaam in Numbers chapter 22, from verses 31 to 33. The donkey he was riding refused to move forward, but the prophet wasn't the wiser until his spiritual eyes were opened to see the imposing angel with a long sword standing in front of him, about to strike him down. Masjids are also feared by demonic legions, and we know this to be true because, in all recorded history, there wasn't a time when they opposed the missions of these angels. They operate under strict instructions and timelines, often lasting only a few hours or minutes, as was the case with Balaam. But in that short time, thousands of people die in their wake, and the memory of their actions lingers for generations to come. So as you go about your daily lives, pray to the God of heaven that you nor your nation should fall out of favor with the Most High to a point where the Maskit is unleashed on your people. Such is an experience that no one can come back from. Thanks for watching the video until the end, and we hope you enjoyed it. Please give it a like and subscribe to our channel for updates once we publish a new video. Until next time, stay alert, have faith, and be gracious.